Hoi there, small fry, and welcome to Itch.io Tasty, the series where we put a random word into the Itch.io search bar and see what kind of wacky, interesting, fun, good, potentially games we find. This week, Pokemon Go is the talk of the town, and so, well, let's exploit that by putting Pokemon into the search bar and see what we find. I'm actually angry about this week's selection. I realise that Itch.io is where a lot of first-time indie devs go, game jam games go, just a lot of practice stuff ends up, so we're not supposed to be too harsh when we look at them, but Jesus, we normally at least find one genuinely good game and a few interesting contenders. Everything under the Pokemon label is shit! Like actual shit! I mean, look for yourself, let's get on with it. I'm really disappointed. First up is Pokemon 7, a two-player game in which you pick up Pokeballs and put them in goals, like football, but not. It's very short. I mean, like it takes a few seconds to play and then the game just crashes, so that's fun. The most exceptional thing about this game is the title screen, which has one of the most mangled, upsetting renditions of Spanish Flea that I've ever heard. It's magnificent, actually, but the game itself is threadbare at best, and like I say, it lasts a few seconds and then it's over. Worth it for the title screen, but not worth it as a game. This one gets half a Pokeball out of 3. That's the score I'm giving it. Snow came on. I don't mind so much because it's at least honest about what it says. The developer says that they are just practicing HTML and you can spam attack and win, which you can. You play as Pika Snow and you attack Professor Snoke. It's only one battle. The main issue with this game is I'm just thinking of Snoke from Star Wars. We live in a post-Star Wars world. The Snow Professor Oak pun doesn't work, because I'm thinking about Star Wars, but it would actually be quite interesting if you were a Pokemon fighting Snoke from Star Wars, I guess. I don't really know, I'm just struggling to think of something else to say about this game. Yeah, it gets points for honesty, so I'm going to give this one half a ghastly. Pokemon Defense is okay. In comparison to a lot of the other stuff on this, it's alright. A very simple tower defense game. You put Pokeballs down, and Pokemon come out of the tree, and you have to hit them with the Pokeballs, and you know how a tower defense game works. It's exactly that. There's no real spin on it. Uses still images, no sound, it's very basic, bare bones, but it's inoffensive. It's just a simple browser game that is what it is, and I played it for a couple of minutes, which is A, more than I could stand with some of them, and B, more than some of them even lasted. So Pokemon Defense is, well, I won't say it's the pick of the week, because there's one other that I guess is nominally better. So I'm going to give this one a relatively okay score. It gets the top half of Drowsy, the bit that doesn't look like it's covered in shit. Pokeball RPG 3.0, however, is the pits. I actually like the idea of it. A little Pokeball that is capturing Pokemon in a kind of weird shooter platformer style situation. It's an interesting concept, but the game itself is rubbish. It's not very good at all. So I'm going to give this one the bottom half of Drowsy out of 10. The bit that does look like it's covered in shit. Kicked Out of Binno is styled as a short sequel to Pokemon. I style it as a cry for help. It seems like this person has some trouble in their life, and they're using this game as a way to show that they need an intervention. The game is, I hesitate to call it a visual novel. It's more just a series of texts overlaid on some really bad art, really bad fan art of Ash and Misty, who are called Mash and Jenny here. They've been kicked out of Binno for some reason. They then eat bacon fries, and then they go back home. And then the game ends with a really, really bad quality JPEG from, I think, the Pokemon cartoon or something. Like, it really does. It just freezes on that JPEG, and the only way to get out of it is to, bring up your task manager or whatever, or just get out of the game and close it manually yourself. Poorly written, poorly spelled, makes no sense, lasts a few seconds. It's alarming. and this one gets a Pokeball that someone tried to shove up their ass like an egg, like one of those love eggs, out of 10. Low Resmon doesn't work. Load of crap. Pokeball Saga game doesn't work. Keeps crashing. Load of crap. Tortank hates fire. Now, I'm trying not to be mean. I'm actually, this is my second take recording this description of Tortank hates fire, because I was too mean. Because, again, these are amateur efforts, and they're not being sold. It's a browser game. I mean, looking at it tells you enough. At least it's got sound. At least it's got sound. It's got that over some of the games we've been looking at here. But, you know, it's a very basic shoot-'em-up. Where you are a Blastoise and you're shooting at Charmanders and Charizards and Charmeleons. That was it. I was trying to remember the middle one. The shooting isn't very good, and the attacks are just sort of come out of nowhere with no real audio cues. And I'm going to stop because, like I said, I don't want to be too mean, so I'm going to stop. I give this one a Squirtle's penis out of 10. Rude Boy Rampage 2, I suppose, is the pick of the week. I guess. That doesn't mean it's particularly great, but it is a bit better than Pokemon Defense, which otherwise would have been pick of the week. I like the idea. The actual idea for this one is good. That's part of the reason why it's pick of the week, is because I like the premise. It's a shooter, like you know, a basic top-down shooter, except you buy a Pokemon and you equip that Pokemon with the gun. Your character is doing the movement, your character takes the damage, but the fire comes from the Pokemon, which is a little interesting twist. You know, you've got to think about not only where you're positioned, but where the Pokemon is positioned. So that gives the rather generic shooter gameplay just that little extra twist that makes it a bit more intriguing than others. There's a little upgrade system where you can buy better Pokemon and buy better guns. There are other levels where there are some levels where you've got to kill everything, and then other levels where you've got to just avoid taking damage for a certain amount of time. Graphically, it's nice. It's got a kind of Game Boy-ish look to it, and takes that Pokemon aesthetic and does neat little things with it. And yeah, it's okay. Like I said, the biggest issue is the lack of sound. I think people sometimes underestimate how important sound can be in a game. It can actually make games more difficult because, you know, audio-visual feedback is important, and if you've just got the visual feedback, you are missing half of that feedback. I'm sure there may be people with, you know, hearing difficulties that consider me a bit of a whiner for complaining that something doesn't have sound, but, you know, I mean, if you're used to sound and, you know, that audio feedback in a game, then the lack of it can be quite stark, and that's the issue with Rude Boy Rampage 2. Otherwise, it is the better made and better put together of pretty much everything else we've looked at. So I'm going to give this one Pikachu's Muff. And that'll do it for this one. Really disappointed, actually. I thought Pokemon would have given us something else, but I'm starting to learn, actually, that some of these ones where we put in the name of an existing game, especially in a Nintendo game, really doesn't throw up anything all that interesting. It's just a lot of very, very low-effort stuff. Almost as if, you know, if you're gonna name your game after an existing game, you don't have that much creativity to begin with. But it's a shame. It's a shame. I was hoping there'd be something cool. You know, when we put in Zelda, we found some cool Zelda-likes that weren't exactly Zelda. So I was hoping, you know, maybe we'd find a Pokemon-ish game, but we didn't. Just weird visual novels and half-baked RPGs and a very basic tower defense game being one of the better examples, so shrug. Sorry about that, and I hope I wasn't overly cruel, but, you know, I'm trying to get over my disappointment here. Pokemon Go is actually better than everything I looked at today. And I don't even like Pokemon Go very much, so that says it all. Until next time, get itchy and stay tasty, my friends. I'm out.